Hello, everyone. I'm Elon Levy. It is March 6th, 2025. This is the live daily briefing of the Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office. First, a major update. This is the final daily briefing that we will do in this live format. The new format is going to be a Substack publication. I'll say more about this change at the end of the briefing. If you want to be on our Substack mailing list, please click on the link in the YouTube description or on our other social media platforms to sign up. Now for the big news item that everyone is talking about. President Trump has just issued what he says is a final warning to Hamas. His statement was published on his Truth Social account. It's such a remarkable statement from a president of the United States that it's worth reading in full. President Trump said, "Shalom Hamas can mean hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all of the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it is over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you are sick and twisted. I'm sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job. Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say. I've just met with your former hostages, whose lives you have destroyed. This is your last warning. For the leadership, now is the time to leave Gaza while you still have a chance. Also to the people of Gaza, a beautiful future awaits you, but not if you hold hostages. If you do, you are dead. Make a smart decision. Release the hostages now, or there will be hell to pay later." End quote. President Trump's statement comes at a critical time. Phase 1 of the hostage ransom payment is over. Hamas remains the government of Gaza. Hamas controls Gaza. During phase 1 of the ransom payment, Hamas released a total of 33 living and murdered Israeli hostages in exchange for Israel releasing over 1,000 Palestinian terrorists and Gazans who were detained after October 7th. And Hamas secured the full withdrawal of Israeli forces from almost all of Gaza. Israel paid a ransom in order to bring its citizens home. We're not at phase 2 because Hamas refuses to give up power in Gaza. Phase 2 says that Israel must withdraw from all of Gaza, including the Gaza-Egypt border where Hamas smuggles weapons. It also says Israel must end the war in exchange for Hamas releasing the remaining living hostages. Israel won't end the war in Gaza, with Hamas as the government of Gaza promising to do more and more October 7th massacres from Gaza. Hamas says it won't release more hostages unless Israel allows Hamas to remain in power and plot more October 7th massacres. We are at an impasse. That is why President Trump's comments are so important. Hamas needs to get the message that it must free the hostages and surrender. Every world leader should send the same message that Trump sent. Trump's message to Hamas came as he met in the Oval Office with a number of Israeli survivors of Hamas captivity, some of whom escaped the dungeons of Gaza just days ago. These former hostages thanked President Trump for his efforts until now and encouraged him to continue pushing for the release of every hostage who remains in Gaza. Right now, there are 59 hostages trapped in the dungeons of Gaza. 24 are presumed alive, but they are all at imminent risk of death. I will not stop fighting for them until they are all home, and I hope you won't stop fighting for them either. We'll now take your questions.
Thank you, Elon. This is the most common question we've been getting. The Israeli Prime Minister said that Israel would no longer facilitate the transfer of food and supplies into Gaza. How long do you think this policy will last?
Hamas is starving the hostages. We saw the images of hostages coming out of the dungeons of Gaza looking like Auschwitz survivors. Hamas is starving the hostages, and anyone who cares about hunger in Gaza should care about that deliberate starvation. Now, for the last year and a half, this war has been dragging on because Israel has been inadvertently fueling the Hamas war machine. International aid is aiding Hamas. It is Hamas's main mechanism of refinancing its war. The Hamas government of Gaza takes food, it taxes it, it uses that money to pay the fighters who are starving the hostages, and maybe even the civilians who are holding hostages in their homes. Israel has no legal obligation to provide military assistance to the enemy. There is no country in the world that has ever transferred so many supplies into territory with which it is at war. Now, people will come and say, international law, the Geneva Conventions. I think international law matters. And what matters is what international law actually says, not some made-up slogan that someone supporting Hamas wants you to believe it. Under international law, parties to a war are obligated to allow the free passage of aid to civilians on the other side. But there's a big but. Subject to the condition that it's satisfied, that there are no serious reasons for fearing that the consignments may be diverted from their destination or may give definitive military advantage to the enemies. The international aid is giving a military advantage to Hamas because the Hamas government of Gaza is taxing it and using that money to starve the hostages and wage war on Israel. There is no risk of starvation inside Gaza. That's because over the last 6 weeks of the ransom payment, Israel has allowed over 25,000 trucks of aid into the Gaza Strip. And that means that Gaza is now well stocked for months ahead. The Hamas government of Gaza should stop starving the hostages and surrender.
Our next question is from Instagram. There are reports that the United States is negotiating directly with Hamas about getting to phase 2. What is your reaction to these reports?
I hope that Hamas gets the message, because clearly it's not getting the message while it's being mediated through the Qataris. It must give up power and free the hostages. I don't think President Trump can be any clearer. It's time up for Hamas. It's over. Now, so far, the negotiations have been taking place through the mediation of Qatar and Egypt. But Qatar is not a neutral actor. It's not an impartial mediator. Qatar is more like Hamas's agent. Qatar condemned Israel on October 7th for the October 7th massacre. While the Hamas death squads were rampaging through the kibbutzim in the south, Qatar condemned Israel. Because Qatar wants Hamas to win. Qatar told Hamas to keep the hostages until it gets a ransom that allows it to remain in power. Right now, the US and Israel are trying to prevent an inevitable blow-up in negotiations by extending phase 1, telling Hamas, this war will be on ice. We will pause it as long as you keep releasing hostages. And Qatar, the mediator, is telling Hamas, no, hold your ground. You'll get a better ransom deal that will keep you in power. So if the US cuts out the middleman, goes straight to Hamas and tells it, time's up, it's over, release the hostages, or we're giving Israel what it needs to finish the job, I hope they get the message loud and clear, even in tunnels 30 meters underneath Gaza.
We have time for one more question, and it is coming from what's going on in the United States. Are you following the situation at Barnard College with the protesters there and them handing out Hamas literature? What's your reaction to this situation?
I think all sensible people can understand that the nutters have gone too far. It's one thing to express ordinary human concern and sympathy for the victims of a war on the other side of the world. It's another thing to wear terrorist chic and be actively protesting for an Islamist jihadi organization that wants to destroy Israel and hates America. The fact is, right now on campuses across the United States, Jewish students, the Gen Zionist warriors, are trying to restore normalcy so that everyone can study, so everyone can learn, so everyone can have a normal college experience and go to college to do whatever it is they went to college to do. And we have a radical, violent movement supporting some of the worst, most evil villains of the 21st century, disrupting studies for everyone and making life a misery for everyone, all in the name of one of the most regressive and repressive jihadi regimes on the planet. And I hope that now that people see that the nutters have gone too far, they see that this is a deranged and violent movement, and hopefully we will see sanctions coming from the US administration as well, the tide will turn as the good Jewish and Israeli students who've been fighting for everyone to just be able to study are able to turn around and say, see, we've been fighting for everyone to just get on and study at colleges, just like Israel is fighting for the rights of its citizens to get on with their ordinary lives without having their lives upended by this jihadi mania. This is an emotional moment for me. Since the Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office began operating in May 2024, at the height of the October 7th war, we have broadcast more than 200 live daily briefings from our social media platforms, not skipping a single workday. The production of these live briefings was an enormous operation that enabled us to reach audiences we never thought possible. The live format enabled us, me and my team of citizen spokespeople, to spread clear and compelling messages at lightning speed. As the October 7th war enters a new and uncertain phase, we are going to change the format of our daily briefings to something different, something that is more useful and accessible to our global community, that is standing up and speaking up for Israel and the Jewish people. This new format is going to be a Substack publication. If you want to be part of our global spokes community, please sign up. The sign up link is in the YouTube description to this video and on all of the other social media platforms where you may be watching this. Go to the link right now and click it. You can also make a pledge to support our efforts. The Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office is an independent NGO. We are 100% private donor funded and depend on the generosity of people like you around the world, those who care enough about the future of the Jewish people to tune into these briefings, even if it's 8 a.m. on the East Coast. In addition to this Substack publication, our citizen spokespeople will be appearing regularly on TV news shows around the world. And we will share the clips that show them making the case for Israel in the global media. The State of a Nation podcast will continue with 2 episodes a week. Thank you all for listening to our live daily briefings. And thank you to the team who have worked so hard to make this possible. To Ellie and to Eleanor, to Asher and to Thomas and to Lotem, to Daniel, to the other Daniel, to Jordana, to our amazing team of interns, to Shlomo, to Lihi, to everyone who was part of this team effort to get us through this moment. This was our last live daily briefing, but we're not going anywhere. We will keep fighting until every hostage is home, until Hamas can no longer threaten the people of Israel, and until the people of Israel are safe in their own homes. We're just getting started. Thank you for following, and Am Yisrael Chai.